it's not a manipulation. It's a real legit offer. And at the end of the day, do they have to buy it? No, they can just walk away with your free beats, go make something of themselves, and you just help them in their career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, guys, welcome to the Midi Money Podcast. Today, we have none other than Wyshmaster Beats. Wish, what's up, bro?
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Man,
awesome.
I appreciate you coming on. We've been trying to make this happen for a little bit. I'm glad we got it. I'm excited for today. I know you got gems on gems. I was saying this too, like, you know, I had Billy from Big Shot Beats on here a little while ago, and I was like, basically between like you two guys, there's very few people on the planet who are more qualified to help people with selling beats online. Like literally, like you guys have been putting in hours and hours as coaches, like helping so many producers that that you're in a pretty unique position to have done that. So I'm excited. I know you got gems on gems, not to mention the launch you just did, and man, we got stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Yeah, Billy definitely has helped me a lot too, so it's awesome.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, and I'll say too, you know, you've helped me, Billy's helped me, you know, so many other people in the group have helped me, and that's part of what the whole thing is about is really that community, and it's the model that has worked really well, you know, for me is like not looking at it as like, oh, I got to beat this other person or whatever. It's like, no, like let's win together, let's help each other out, you know what I mean? And so I love that.
It's something that's never happened though. That's the thing. It's like producers never really helped each other out. It was always about, you know, hey, I'm gonna get mine, you can get yours, and you know maybe we can talk and you know do the bullshit of hey, what's going on, man? But you know, like I actually want everybody to win, and like they want you to win, and it's never been done before. I mean, in all honesty, and I've been around for 20 years, so.
Yeah, no, I love it. I feel like we're kind of jumping ahead, but bro, I love it. I love being a part of the group, and to me, like, yeah, it's true. Like I've never been a part of a community where we really are just like helping each other that much.
Right.
But it's not even just like, I feel like it almost sounds like, oh, like we're like patting on ourselves on the back. We're such nice guys. But honestly, even if you're selfish, I feel like it's a great business decision to help people, because, you know, it's going to come, we'll talk about your launch in a minute, but like, you know, I know there's a lot of stuff that you did, but I know part of it was that you had other producers who were affiliates and helped drive traffic. Like those relationships, that teamwork is part of what made us all money too. It's not just like, you know, it does feel good. And yes, it is being a good human. So like, of course we should do it anyways. And you know, you're a good guy. And so you're going to help people, but also it's like literally like, it's actually the best business move anyway. So anyways,
it's a Jerry Maguire mold, right? Let me help you help me.
Exactly right. And it's cool too to see like, you know, because it's funny that you say that. I feel like I had been kind of like yelling that for years. Like I would have, you know, like at least once a year I'd be doing a big launch, and I'd you know, I'd have a whole spreadsheet with like 100+ producers of like whoever I could find who was like the top YouTube, you know, BeatStars, whatever it was, and be like, hey, I'm doing this launch. Would you like to be an affiliate? Would you like to be a part of it? And they would either ignore me or say no, or they didn't get it or whatever for years and years, you know. And now it's finally like, you know, we've got, you know, people such as yourself. We've got, you know, Temper just did a launch recently that did really well. Obviously, you know, AD, of course, been doing it, you know. You know, now we've got this little ecosystem, this community of producers that are actually in a position to help each other, to actually create a real, you know, community, and not just community, but like almost like this business. I don't know, it's almost like a syndicate. I don't know, that sounds like evil, but like,
it's like the Illuminati, right? Yeah.
Yeah, basically that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Man, but okay, let's back up for a minute. Let's hear a little bit of your backstory of just kind of like, you know, who, you know, how you kind of got to be where you're at, just for anybody who doesn't know the Wish story.
All right, so I go by Wyshmaster. It's my producer name. I've been in the music business 20 years. I started off as one of the originators of online leasing of beats, and this was like back in the days of mp3.com. I guess SoundClick is what everybody knows it now as, and I just grew from there. I mean, it was making beats in my parents' basement, didn't know what to do. Used to sell just exclusives, and then it just started growing from there. And then I started leasing beats, And then from there, I grew into the industry because I got noticed by a lot of big companies, such as like Midway Games. I did the first NBA Ballers, which was a huge, milestone for video games. And then, worked with Nelly and all these big artists. But it all came from me just making beats, like I said, in my parents' basement. And then, how much of this backstory you want me to go into?
Well, that's already interesting because I feel like
Yeah.
so many people assume, like, they hear the credits, right? You work with all these big artists, that usually the path is like you work on that, you do that, and then maybe you're like, oh, maybe I'll make some money selling beats online or something. But it was actually you building that name by being literally one of the first people to sell beats online. That's what got you noticed in the first place to then open up the door for these other opportunities. That's
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I wouldn't have had these opportunities if I wasn't like promoting myself online and growing as a producer, where people could actually see me, through websites or marketing or ads and stuff. And it's like that's what I tell people now. They're so worried about, like, I want to get on this record, I want to get on that record. Well, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, keep working with up and coming artists, and you never know who they're going to be, or you never know who's going to see and who's going to grab a beat from your from your website or from your funnel or anything, and that could make your career. And it's made a lot of careers. So, and me
absolutely
included. So
no, it's funny. It's like, for me, I think a lot of people, at least that are listening to this, if they've heard previous episodes, they know some of my backstory. But I did start on the industry side, or at least trying to be on the industry side. And it's like, I got a couple little wins, that certainly never like you. But what's interesting, it was after I started selling beats online, after I started really building this brand online, that's actually when I started getting more opportunities from the industry side, because they noticed me there, because they saw I have value, because of what I built on that side of things. And then it was like, it wasn't even as much my interest or my focus at that point, but it's what created the opportunity in the first place, was actually, building my own brand. Yeah, man. So, okay. So let's keep going a little bit. Okay. So started off, selling beats online before. Where were you even selling beats online? Like, would you just go to, did you have like your own website, or like this? Cause this is before.
no, we used to do it by mail. It used to be like letters that used to no. I used to, no. So I when I went into it, it was like, so I did security for a computer college, and I was making beats. I was like, some of my favorite producers like Timberland and Dr. Dre and Neptunes. So, that's what my beats sounded like. And then I found this website. It was called mp3.com, and they allowed you to put your beats up there. It was like, okay, this is what producers do, right? They just put beats up. And they used to pay you for how many clicks you got. So it's like, if you get all these clicks, you're getting a check in the mail. So like my first check was like $60 for all the clicks I was getting. And I always tell this story, but I literally spent a weekend in my parents' basement clicking on all my beats, because I'm like, man, if I just keep clicking on this, I'm going to just keep making money. So I spent a whole weekend in it, and somebody told me, they're like, dude, you know what the IP address is? And yeah, so only like one of your clicks worked per day. And I'm like, oh my God. And then from there, they stopped paying producers. So I had to come up, I'm like, all right, what do I do now? So I started checking my email. And, artists would hit me up, and they're like, how much do you want for this beat? I really like it. And I'm like, I sold my first beat for $60. And people are like, why'd you sell it for $60? I said, well, my phone bill was $60. So I said, if you pay me $60, I'll give you this beat, right? And paid my phone bill.
And this was the only way people were selling beats, was an exclusive, I guess, at that point, right?
Yeah. There was no leasing, any of that type of thing. So I started doing that, and then it worked for a while, and then people couldn't afford to buy beats. They're like, I got up to like $3,000 per beat, and that was just underground artists.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I'm like, I need to keep doing music full time. I can't go back to a regular job. And it wasn't that I have a lot of respect for people that have jobs. It's just that it wasn't made for me. I was like, I'm made to do music. So I'm like, what if I just sold my beats for like I think it was $19.99 I used to do it for, and then I just sold to more than one person, like let them license it, just like people license for TV or movies or anything else. And that really caught on. That's when I started getting a huge fan base, and like all these countries are like, Wyshmaster, we love you. And I was making so much more than just selling exclusives. And then, like I said, that's when it got to like major people.
Dude, wait, hold on. So had you seen anybody else do that before?
I had not, and I'm not gonna claim I'm the first person. I just know
I
I'm
don't
one
know.
of the
It
originators.
kind of sounds like you invented beat leasing. Like you
I
just
don't,
kind of
dude.
glossed
I
over
feel like
that.
I'm one of them, but I can't say that because like I know like Abe from BeatStars said that like Rocket Production was the first person. So, like Rocket's one of my boys too. He could have been the
Okay.
first. I just know like when I like wanted to do that, I didn't see anybody else doing it. It doesn't mean that it wasn't done before,
All right.
but
So you're
I
at
can
least one of the
guarantee I'm one of the
originators.
originators because
Crazy.
people like say like wish you're the first beat I ever released online and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
So but that's when it got to the point where I started reaching a bigger audience because you sell exclusive, that's great. You're like, oh, I made a few hundred or $500, but then it's like that beat's gone forever. So like you're not reaching an audience. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you're leasing, you're reaching so many more people. You know. And
Absolutely.
that's when Midway Games hit me up, and then like I said, got hooked up with Nelly and Ludacris and all these different artists. So
Got it. And then from there it became. Well, how did Nelly happen? How did he come across you, or how did you meet him?
it was his production label that actually heard my beats online, and they probably were on one of these websites, and then they're like, hey man,
Right.
we would love to sign you over here and get you like on some Nelly records. And then that's when and then Nelly started hearing my beats, and he's like, dude, I got to get you on my album. So
That's
yeah, man.
awesome. That's awesome. So it created those opportunities. I'm curious, it sounds like, from pretty early on, you had that kind of entrepreneurial, whether if you were thinking about it consciously or not, like you were like innovating, you were coming up with ideas. Is that something that just naturally came to you? Did you think about it as you were doing it, or just like, I don't know, I got to pay my phone bill. This seemed, like how conscious were you at the time of like, oh, I'm going to build this business and I'm figuring this stuff out?
I think I can relate to you a lot is that you kind of built something and you're like, all right, I'm just going to keep going with it, see where it goes from here. And then, of course, you're paying your bills and you're like, okay, wait a minute, I'm not working a job, of course. But, and this is something I don't want to hurt, make people like not want to work in the industry, but the industry doesn't work like that. Like, if like let's say you get an awesome placement, you're like, oh, I got something on Drake's record somehow, right? And you're not going to get paid for like 3 to 6 months. And if there's some kind of issue on that album where somebody sampled and it didn't get cleared, you're going to be held up with your payment. So you have to live for the next 3 6 months off that. So leasing was something that like, oh well, this actually pays the bills. And then I started thinking like, what more can I do from this? And that's when I'm like, okay, let me do some lease deals and like buy two get one free. That was like my main thing, was like buy two get one free. And I just kept going from there. And like I said, then I got into the industry and my biggest mistake of my career was leaving the online game to just focus on the industry. And
Mm-hmm.
not to say I haven't had a great career in the industry, and I still do, but it's not what you think it is. You know what I mean? Like I just said, you might have to wait 3 to 6 months. You have to hustle, and then there's politics involved. If you're not signed with this person and they're not going to use your record on their album, they're like, well, if you're not going to give up your percentage to our publishing company, we're not going to put you on this album. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things in this game.
Yeah, and just so people know that of sort of the level that you got in the industry, who are some of the artists? We mentioned Nelly already. Who are some other
Yeah.
artists that you work
Oh
with?
man, T-Pain, RickRoss, Lonely Island,
Yeah,
Tech Nine.
Grammy nominated on that one, right? The
Yeah,
Lonely
and,
Island.
and and that's what I'm saying. I have a song that I own the biggest percentage off of that was #1 on YouTube. #1 on YouTube. If I had to say, would that song pay the bills for the rest of my life? No way. No. Are they nice checks? Yes. But do I make more doing funnels and selling beats online? Of course.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Um, I'm trying to think who else. I mean,
I
a lot of
got your
artists.
website pulled up here. We got
Yeah,
Pitbull, we got Lil
YoGotti,
Wayne, Tech
Pitbull, LilWayne.
Nine.
A lot
So
of
yeah,
people.
so you did well on the industry side, but you were seeing that there were some limitations. It wasn't going
Yeah. There's
financially where you wanted
industry
it to.
producers that hit me up wanting to get into what we're doing. They're
Oh yeah.
like, dude, I just know you did
Trust me,
this,
I
and
know.
like, dude, I'm not making, I mean, I'm not going to put any names out there, but there's guys that are working with some big artists, some really big artists. They're hitting me up and they want to be part of my. They're like, dude, I'll hook you up with this artist and this artist, but just get me into what you're doing. And
Yep.
I'm like, dude, I'm like, hey, let's do it,
Yep. No, I'm
So
familiar.
yeah,
Man, okay, cool. So then you took some time in the industry, and then what was it that brought you back? Was it just that like, hey, let me figure
It
out how I can.
was, yeah. So I ran a school out in St. Louis with, it was Nelly School, and like I got an education, and I didn't know how much I would love it, but I love educating people. I love helping others. But it was the students that came to me and they're like, dude, have you heard of this? It was like Airbit and BeatStars and all this stuff. I said, I don't know what that is. They're like, yeah, it's like this, that's what people are doing to sell beats online now and everything. And I started looking into it, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I don't have to I don't have to put my own contract together. I don't have to send the beat. I don't have to send the track stems. Like, it's all done for you. And that's, I'm like, man, I'm like, you know what? Don't get me wrong. Industry stuff, I love the hustle and everything, but it's not like, like it's not something you can just get every day. It's not like income that just comes every day where you're like, oh yeah, I'm excited. I just made $500 today, right? So I was like, I'm gonna try this. I actually reached out to Abe from BeatStars, and I just emailed him. I found his email somehow, and I'm like, hey man, my name is Wyshmaster. I'm one of the originators of online beat selling. I would love to, I'm interested in getting on your platform. He's like, call me, bro. So I called him, and he's like, I'm like, so I started breaking it down. I'm like, yeah, I'm Wish, but he's like, dude, I know who you are. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, man, I used to buy your beats, man. I used to be a rapper, so I understand. So he was a super nice guy. He kind of broke it down of how it works. And he's like, I'd love to get you over there. So I started doing the BeatStars thing, and I not gonna lie, I epically failed in my like first year of selling
Sure.
beats. But that's how I got back into it, man. It's just like I missed that every day, just talking to artists and building that relationship, like that you teach. And it's just like I just missed that, like I said, because when you work with artists, you either have to be in the studio with them, or you're really not gonna have much conversation. It's just like, hey, send me some beats. All right,
Right.
there you go. But we're not actually working technically together. We're just, I'm just sending beats. Now it's like that online hustle is like, it's just like you're building something, you're talking to people, and it's that good vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds to me like you have some of that entrepreneurial spirit. Like you like doing this stuff. So
I love
uh,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So I could imagine that maybe if you weren't even I don't know, maybe you're conscious of it, you weren't, but like you were innovating, you were coming up with cool ideas as far as selling beats online way back in the day. It was
Yeah.
probably fun to come back and be creative and it play on a whole now there's now like the market had evolved so much. Now there's all these new opportunities and stuff.
Yeah, and I forgot that part. I started seeing like people like Superstar O and like Giant Giuliano Vibe, and these guys are showing pictures like driving Lamborghinis and like these like $500,000 houses. I'm just like, I did pretty well, but I didn't do that well. You know what I mean? And like,
Right.
even in the industry, you don't see these guys unless you're getting like all these top Billboard hits. You're not driving cars like that. You're not, you know what I mean? So that's what really drove me. I'm like, man, there's too many. Even you, Legion Beats and like AD, and I'm just like, man, these guys are like killing it online. Like, why did I leave that? And the only reason I left is because all these people in the industry told me like, you don't want to be known as an online producer. Like, you don't want your legacy to be like, oh, and now I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? There's no such thing. It's like, oh, you're an online producer. Like, no, I make beats from this and I sell them online. That has nothing to do with anything. So, yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, that was probably my biggest mistake. But I'm back, and I love it. So,
Yeah, no, well, we're all grateful that you're back. And yeah, just to touch on that too, like I remember, for me when I was coming up, because I've been doing it for a long time too, more, not as much online, but it was that kind of stigma almost of like, oh, are you like an internet producer or whatever? It was almost like a bad thing, and I knew, and I was friends with, and still am, friends with some guys like you mentioned that are in the industry, doing pretty well or whatever, and they were always like, yeah, don't, you're ruining, like, don't do that. And I didn't for a long time, right? And then of course now it's a very different story where all those guys are hitting me up, and just like you said, they're like, oh, how can I
yeah,
be a
I
part of
was
it?
I
You know
was
what I mean?
embarrassed to use FL Studio. Like, people like to use FL Studio. Oh, I'm not listening to your beats. Like, what? Now the top guys, that's what they're using. Even like Timberland was using FL Studio. Like, you could see him in the studio messing around. It was just like, it's like you can't let others determine what you're going to do in your career, because they will tell you things that they think are wrong because that's just all they know. And it's like, it's just like what's going on in America. I'm not going to get too much into politics, but it's like people are telling you that's wrong. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't think this way. And it's like, you can't, as a producer, you have to be able to make mistakes on your own, and try things, and don't let anybody determine what you do.
Yeah, no, I think so. You have to figure out what's going to work for you. And I think, anybody shaming somebody for being an entrepreneur and for, building their own brand, like obviously, and I think it's shifted now to where it's like, there's less of that. I still think there's some of that, but it's like people are seeing, that, oh, wait a second, actually that looks a whole lot cooler to like actually, like you said, maybe it is the material, like, yeah, the cars and the house, whatever, but also like I have a team of people that work with me. Like we have this community, like all the stuff that we're doing is just a different type of thing that people want to be a part of. So
Exactly.
So it's pretty cool.
You don't see carpenters walking up to each other and be like, hey man, this hammer's, I mean, if you know you're not using this hammer, you cannot build a house. Like you need, you're not going to make it in this industry. Like it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? So
yeah, man. So then what happened next? So now you're kind of back. You're trying BeatStars.
yeah, so I got into the BeatStars, and like I said, I wasn't doing well because I was just throwing money out there. I was like, all right, well, I got, I'm Grammy nominated, multi-platinum producer. This is gonna work for me. I'll throw some money out there because I had money. So I'm like, okay, throw in the ads. My first thing I did, I spent 2,000 in my first month on YouTube, and I was getting so many views. I'm like, man, I put this beat up and everything, and like I wasn't getting that. I was like, I probably got like 2 sales off $2,000, and you're talking about like $25, $50 sale here, and I'm like. I was so hurt. I'm like, oh my God, like, do I just not have it anymore? Like, am I just done? And I started learning about demographics, and like, I pretty much was running YouTube ads without any audience. It was like, 13 to over 65, male or female, every country, no interest in anything. And like, and I started, there's grandmas sitting there clicking my beats, and that's when I'm like, I need to learn marketing, because back in the day, it wasn't really like you had to market, but you more market in like forums, like it was rapmusic.com. You would go in there and say, hey, I just dropped 10 beats, and people are like, hey, I like these beats. And then you go comment on their stuff. And now it's like, I need to put myself in front of you. I had to have a visual. Like we didn't have visuals to our beats. You didn't put like a picture of like Drake and say, oh, Drake type beat. And even there was no Drake type beat. It was like Timberland type beat, or West Coast or East Coast or Midwest. And there's not that, you don't have that anymore. So now, I had to learn all this new stuff. And I think marketing was my biggest, obstacle I had to learn to actually get back into the online selling. So,
yeah, for sure. Cool. And then that's when you kind of came across what me and AD were doing, or how did I don't even know.
Yeah, like year 2, I started picking up a little bit. So I started learning some, marketing techniques. I was listening to like Billie Jean and some of these guys. I'm like, it's cool. It wasn't like really driving me huge, but I was making a profit. And then I was talking to one of my buddies who was actually really good friends with Billie Jean, and he knew who you were. It was Yak Boy, and he's like, dude, he's like, you need to check these guys out.
That's right. Like, I forgot you had told me that. Joey Yak, right?
Joe Yak. He used to go by Yak Boy Fresh. So he was actually a rapper that I used to work with, man. Like we did the St. Louis Cardinals theme song in St. Louis. So like we worked a long time, but he got really deep into marketing. Yeah. And he goes, dude, you need to watch this, what these guys are doing. And I'm like, what guys? He goes, Anno Domini and Gabe from Legion Beats. He goes, whatever they're doing, just do that. And I'm like, all right, man. I said, that's not a lot of information, but I'll check it out. And then that's when, I caught your guys' webinar, and I'm like, this makes so much more sense. It's not just about like, hey, I got beats, check them out, or just, not having like any email sequence. It's really just, it was always me just putting like, when I did a release, it was like, hey, check this out. I just dropped this. You guys are more like, let's build a relationship. Let's do marketing. Let's build something together that's going to last a lot longer than just the, simple way of selling beats. And like I said, I tell you guys this all the time. I was like, I was instantly in your course, like right away. I didn't even go through the whole thing. I was like, nope, I'm in. You know what I mean? And I even think I was like, in the beginning, I was like, hey, I'm Wyshmaster. Hey guys, I don't know if you know who I am. Like I was just trying to, you know what I mean? You're like, hey Wish, like what's going on, man? And it's like, you guys had something so much bigger than anything I could even think of, man. And it's just like, and I tell you, I'm appreciative, because like it's changed my life. You know what I mean? So,
man, well, I'm appreciative too, because the next part is now you bought the course, great, you came in, you started crushing it, but not only that, but you were giving so much value. You were teaching everybody in the group, you were showing what was working, you were answering questions, and so it was, we noticed, me and AD noticed that, from you, and then also from Billy, from Big Shot Beats, and we asked you guys to be our official coaches. We were super stoked when you said yes. And so it's just been great to see now, like, not only all the successes that you've had, but now you're helping like all these other people. And I know, like, I'll speak on behalf of, so many other producers who are in the group that have gotten so much from you where it's like, yeah, maybe they saw something I did or AD or whatever, but like they're they're getting that coaching from you every week and getting that value. So I want to thank you on behalf of them, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, and I just like I said, I've been in education for 8 years, and like I never knew how powerful it is to actually teach people like what you know and your knowledge, and actually comes back to you like 10 times fold, and
Yeah.
it's like it's amazing. And then when I got in the group, and I'm like, man, I'm not used to this. Like this is awesome, but. And then people are like sharing stuff, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just help this guy real quick. He's like, he doesn't understand this, and I'm like, all right, that's simple for me to say, right? So I go on the Facebook. I'm like this. He's like, thank you so much to save my life, and I'm like, really? And it was just amazing to be a part of something, and like and then all of a sudden like all these producers are like, hey man, like this is something new I just checked out, or hey, this is some cool article I just read, and I was like, and then when you guys approached me, like, do you want to be a coach? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm already doing it, but if you like me to, yeah, officially, you know what I mean? And it's an amazing thing, and it just keeps growing. And I mean, we just have so many good people, and there's big producers coming in there that like they needed this. And they're like, yeah, like I didn't understand this part of it. Like, there's producers like me that we didn't really help each other because the other producer would screw you over and be like, yeah, man, I'm going to pitch your beats to this person. And if you can get me in with Nelly, I'll get you in with this person. You get him in with Nelly, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, bro, I don't work with him anymore or something,
Mm-hmm.
And this is just like people are just sharing like nonstop gems. And it's like, it's amazing. And just like you said, people are learning from me. I'm learning from everybody just as well. So it's a great community.
Yeah, man. So let's get into some of those gems. Let's get into some of those tactics. So I want to get to your launch because I know you did that launch recently that went crazy, and I can't wait to do that. But let's start as far as starting to give people a little bit more on the tactical side of like, okay, well, what did you actually do? Starting with sort of maybe like building that sort of front end evergreen funnel and a little bit of what that looks like and what you've seen also, because what's interesting is not only have you now seen what worked for you, but you get to see, because you're coaching every week, like what's working for producers and what isn't. So maybe if you can kind of outline that first funnel that you built and some of the things that work and don't work that you see from producers.
Okay, so yeah, so when I jumped in it right away, I didn't ask questions in the beginning because I'm like I soaked it all in. I'm like, all right, so first build in your origin story, and like I have to tell my story, and I'm like, that's great, but I have to get on video, right? I'm not a video guy. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be it was the toughest thing by far for me is getting on video, and then I was like, but by me sharing my story is what people want to see. They don't care if I'm like I've done what I've done. They don't care that I've got beats. They want to hear my story. Like what am I doing that's going to help them, right?
That's right.
So that's when I'm like, all right, I'm going to write this out, and I'm going to do a video saying like, this is who I am. I understand where you come from. I struggled for so many years in the industry, or I mean, just anything, just selling beats online. I have so many stories, So I'm like, yeah, I could talk about those things. And then I'm like, all right. And then you got this incredible offer. And that was tough for me to get around too, because I'm like, we're selling so many beats for such a low price. I'm like, but I'm already selling them for a low price. But then you have to get out of that mindset, and you have to think, well, how much does it actually cost me to make a beat? Well, it doesn't cost me anything. It takes me time, and they're not owning the beat, so why can't I do a bundle? You know what I mean? So after I got around that, I'm like, all right, I got the right mindset now.
Yeah, and by the way, can I say something on that too?
Yeah.
Because
sorry, go ahead.
I think, there's something, there's different sides to that argument, right? There's like for one thing, when people like you invented beat leasing, right? Everybody, all the producers in the industry,
I think so. It says it on Wikipedia. No, I'm just kidding.
Somebody update that now. People in the industry or however, or selling exclusives online or whatever they were doing, they were all saying how beat leasing is going to ruin the game. It's going to ruin it. Producers are no longer going to be able to make money because they used to sell beats for a few $1,000s for an exclusive. Now
I used to get
producers are leasing
15,000
beats, right, for $50 or $20 or whatever, and they're like, oh, this is the end. Producers are not going to be able to make a living anymore because they're ruining the industry, right? Now, move forward 10 years, and actually it's in the opposite, right? It's created so many more opportunities. There's more producers than ever, who are able to make a living selling beats online. There's a bigger market than ever because of that advancement. So I think that, for one thing, it's just to like look at it from that perspective of, don't be afraid of the new thing. just because it's the new thing, right? And then also it's about scale, right? If you're selling, one beat a day for $30 or whatever, wouldn't you rather sell a bundle that has 10 beats, for $30 10 times a day? Wouldn't that be better? Like, isn't that more beneficial for everybody involved? You make more money, the customer gets more value. Like, who's the victim there, right? It's like, so I think people just get a little confused. And of course there's a limit. Like, if you are like, you can buy my whole catalog right now for $1, yes, there's a certain point where that is no longer going to be beneficial. But it's about, for one thing, the offer sequencing, which I think, is important that we'll talk about, is that sort of whole ecosystem of, from the free beats to that first offer to launches and OTOs and all the things that come after it that people don't realize is really the important part. That is where you continue to give more value and actually end up making way more money than somebody who is just leasing a beat for, $50 or whatever.
Right. I mean, look at Old Town Road. That made that producer's whole career. It's like that artist bought that, Nas X bought that for $30, and now that producer has all those opportunities.
Right.
I mean, was it a bad idea to lease that beat? No, of course not. I didn't know a sample from Trent Reznor too, so he got paid off that as well. So his guitar is on there. Yeah,
I heard that.
But yeah, I use this analogy all the time. I'm like, all right, you go to what's your favorite cheeseburger? And they're like, well, I like Ruth Chris cheeseburger. It's like $15, $20. Like, oh, that's a great cheeseburger, right? And then you go to McDonald's. It's like it's 99 cents. All right, so well, what are people more going to? They want to go to that 99-cent cheeseburger. Like, McDonald's cheeseburger is not bad. And, at the end of the day, Ruth Chris might have sold, 1,000 cheeseburgers. They're like, well, they sold them for $20, so they made a good money, $20,000, right? Well, McDonald's probably sold 1 million cheeseburgers that day.
Sure.
So I'd rather be McDonald's any day of the week than Ruth Chris when I'm selling my beats.
Right.
You know what I mean?
If you put it that way, and I'll say this too, because I think maybe some people are like, oh, I don't, McDonald's is garbage. Here's the thing is the cost to fulfill on that Ruth Chris burger is a lot more expensive than it is for that, one might argue, not as delicious McDonald's burger, right? But it's not with your beats. The delivery to, the cost to deliver your beats is exactly the same if you make incredible Grammy nominated platinum, quality beats, or if you're making garbage beats, it costs you the same to deliver it. So that's what allows you to actually be able to give that much more value without being the bad part of being McDonald's, where it's like a bad product. No, it's a great product. It's just even more value. So.
And the garbage part is an opinion. It's not. That's just you saying, oh, it's a garbage. It's a garbage cheeseburger. Some people love it. Some people they live off cheeseburgers. I don't eat meat, so But yeah, and it is true. It's just like I had to really. That's a different kind of mindset that I had to get into, because me already leasing beats was already like, oh, this is already at a cheaper. But it's like, at the end of the day, you are helping people. You know what I mean? You're reaching a way bigger audience. If you want to go chase placements, cool. See how many people you reach more than just leasing your beats online, and see what works out for you. But do both.
Yeah.
Don't give up
do
one.
it all, and they'll, as you've demonstrated, like, it opens up opportunities on both ends. You have more success online, it's going to open up industry opportunities, and potentially vice versa anyway. So no reason not to.
Yeah, and then on the other end of the free aspect, it's like, we're giving away a small amount of beats for free, and we're saying, you're going to have limited rights. That's how you build a relationship. You can't just go up to somebody and say, hey, I'm going to sell you this beat. Let's get to know each other. They're like, dude, no, I don't. You're like, what? You want to ask me for money, and then you want to get to know each other? Like, if you go through a mall and you go, and you walk through the where all the food is, the food section. What are they doing? They got toothpicks. They're like, here, try this. And you're like, damn, this is pretty good. Well, if you come over here, now I'm going to give you a deal. You're going to get 2 of these, and you're going to get a side for $8. It's the same concept. It's like, here, I'm just giving you something. Listen to what I'm doing. If you like it, then grab this other amazing offer I'm doing right now that I do not do. If you want to check out my regular prices, this is what I charge. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not a manipulation. It's a real legit offer. And at the end of the day, do they have to buy it? No, they can just walk away with your free beats, go make something of themselves, and you just help them in their career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, of course. Okay, so then you're starting to to do this model where you're telling your story, so you're showing the value you can give. You're creating a true offer, right? So it's not just beats, it's a beat pack, but you're also including other things in there too, right? Some information products and different things.
Which I would have never done before, right? Yeah.
And you're building your list, right? So you're offering some free beats in exchange for email address. You're telling your story. You're all this kind of stuff, right? And so how does that go for you? You start generating some income from that. You start building your list. How does that go for you?
Yeah. So and another thing, you're building a relationship through email. So it's like you're getting their email address in exchange, and then now you can start talking to them and telling them your story, and then they tell you their story. You listen to their music. And it's like it's the same thing you would do in the industry as a music producer. You get in the studio, you get to know the artist, and then you guys work together. You talk back and forth and say, "Hey, I'm looking for this. Hey, I got it. Let's work." So it's almost like it's a gift because you're getting to work with people like you are in the studio, even though you can't be in the same room as them. So like that alone was just amazing. And then from there, you're building your list, and then now you can turn someone that might have like even just, let's say they bought a $24.99 beat, or they just got your 5 free beats. Now they might be a customer for life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I have customers now that spend thousands of dollars with me. I mean, I even posted online. I did a $5,000 day on BeatStars. You know what I mean? And that was from somebody that bought a $24.99 lease that I built a relationship with, because he's like, dude, you give me so much information and so much. I want to just buy exclusives off you now. Like I really just want you to be my producer.
Right.
You know? And I'm
Right.
like, thank you so much. Like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? So like I said, it's something so much bigger. And I think some of these producers focus on, let me just get the quick sale. All right, see you later. All right, let's go for the next one. That's not how you grow in this business at all, you know?
Yeah.
And,
So
and it took me to, work with you guys to understand that too. I'm not going to lie to you. I was doing the same shit. I was like, all right, see you later. Thanks for the money. Bye.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, we don't really think about it until you think about it. So I know that you're really good on this side as far as, sending out those emails in a way that tells your story, that gives value, creating those conversations. Is there anything like, something tactical as far as, I don't know, some tips as far as the way that you respond or some of those emails that you send out as far as building that relationship? Any tips as far as like things that you've seen work that people tend to reply to or tend to start that conversation? Or
Yeah. And this is tough for some people to do. Give a shit. Like, actually care about what you're doing. Like, if you like ask them to, like, really listen to their music. Like, I actually do. I sit there, and at nighttime, I usually check all my emails, and I go through and I listen. You don't have to listen to a 3-minute song. Just listen to it to get the vibe, give them some advice, and say, hey, I like this. Or maybe, even if it's like, if you really don't like it, you don't have to hurt their feelings and say, this is total shit music. Say, hey, you can work on your mixing a little bit, or your energy or something like that. And that's going to go over 10 times fold, because they're going to be like, thank you so much for your honesty. Everybody else in my life just tells me, oh, that's great music. My mom just told me I'm great at what I do. You know what I mean? They're getting some honest feedback from an actual music producer. And I think that goes over a long way. And like, give value. I think, and that's the biggest thing you guys said. You don't always have to ask for something.
Yeah.
Like, give them some information. If you don't know about recording, then go look it up on Google and say, hey, I was reading this amazing article the other day about how to record vocals. I wanted to share it with you. That's a value email.
Yes,
that goes over a long way. Now, I wouldn't give them an email from a producer that is selling beats, but maybe an engineer that won't.
Bro,
that's
okay. So 2 big gems there. So one is, first of all, just caring, right?
Yeah, I mean,
just
I
caring
do,
in the first place.
Yeah.
And then as far as listening to people's music, do you have an email that specifically says like, "Hey, send me some music and I'll listen to it"? I mean, people send me music all the time anyway, so they're gonna do it anyways. But I'm curious, do you actually specifically ask them to?
That's in my first email. I say, hey, like I'd love to hear what you're working on. Like, even like we're working together now. Like, I would love to see who I'm working with, right? And I say, send me music. And this is something I'm going to actually add to my evergreen. Is I did this on my launch. I said, send me your best song right now. That's it.
Nice.
It was a send me your best song. I want to listen to what you were like. That goes over a long way, because it's like something I send my boy, right? It's like, or my homie. I'm like, hey man, let me hear what you're working on. Send it over. Like, that goes over a long way than you just saying, sometimes just getting deep into something, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to actually add that in my sequence and say, hey man, just send me your best song right now. I'm going to check it out.
Love that. No, that's a huge gem right there. So it's like, so for one thing, evoking a response because you're showing them that you care, you actually want to listen to it. And also sort of the language that you're using, it doesn't feel like a formal like email from a brand or a business that's it's like you said, it's like you hit up your friend like, bro, send me your best song, like let me hear it right now, or whatever, like whatever the wording is.
Yeah,
people are
that's
going to
what I say,
respond
like,
to that.
Yeah,
A lot
be
better.
yourself, and like, but you guys, you have to put in the work. Like,
Yeah.
don't expect to get all, everything that Gabe has accomplished, and AD and me and anybody else. Like, don't think we don't work hard. Like, we don't sleep. Like, this is what we do. Like, we love doing this, but it does take hard work, and you're gonna have to do something. There's no I mean, don't get me wrong. This is very automated, where you can do the least amount of work when you do funnels, but you still have to put something into it. You have to build. You have to test. You have to try different things. And the biggest gem I could say is think outside the box. What is something you could do that somebody hasn't done yet, and add that to something that you can offer? You know, how can you fulfill their dream in different ways, right?
Yeah. And really that goes back to what you said, is just actually caring. So if you're thinking about, well, who is that person on the other side? Who is that rapper or singer? What is the thing that's really bothering them? What are the problems they're facing? What are the challenges that are in front of them? And how can I actually help them get past those challenges? And ultimately what that's going to do is create, a better relationship and create better products that people are going to ultimately want to buy. So yeah, definitely. So okay, awesome. So we got some good gems on there as far as kind of like your evergreen front end funnel, free beats, some nice ways as far as how to communicate with them and stuff. You're growing your list. You're getting and you were profitable on your front end evergreen funnel, right?
Yeah, I still am. I just yesterday I did $700. I was just like, oh my god, like it's I took a little down, and then it's going back up because I tested something else. I'm like, just like I just said, I just changed up my email sequence just a little bit, and I was like, I'm just gonna talk a little bit more like me, even though I'm talking like me when I tell my story, but I'm gonna say, hey bro, send me your shit. Like that's how I talk. And they're like, all right, dude, I thought you were a computer. I'm like, no, I've said, I'm not a computer. I'm not a robot. And it's, dude, it's like I said, I don't know how many times I can say it, but it's about testing things and seeing what works for your audience. We're not all the same, right? Just because we all sell beats doesn't mean the same audience is going to like all our beats, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the launch because I'm excited about this. So
let me get one more bonus.
Yeah. Oh, please.
All right. If you guys are looking for something extra to do as a bonus as part of your evergreen offer, reach out to your local Guitar Center or Sweetwater. It doesn't have to be local. Go online and ask them, if I send people your way, could you please give them a discount? That goes so far. That's part of that's one of my biggest thing in my evergreen. Just give them like a 10, like they might do a 10% for anybody you send to their email. They want that. They need sales. That's how they make money. So you're fulfilling the artist's need, and you're also helping, Guitar Center or Sweetwater or whoever it is. So dude, there's a gem. Sorry.
That's huge. Big gem. It's one of those win-win-win situations, and thinking outside the box of like, okay, this artist, they could use some gear and stuff at home.
Yeah.
This store, whether if it's a brick and mortar store or online, whatever, like they could use more customers, and I need to give more value in my offer. Bam. So now you just like connect all those things. And there's so many different, versions of that you can do, right? It could be, maybe it's that you've got like, hey, here's how to set up your home studio. And then in that guide, you might have affiliate links for, to buy all the different, microphones and preamps and whatever that you're recommending in there. And again, it's win-win-win. You're giving them that information. You're making it really easy for them, to go buy that thing on Amazon or whoever else you might be an affiliate for. And you're getting some extra revenue on top of it.
Yeah, artists have budgets, guys. That's why we lease beats in the first place. You don't walk around and say, I'm only going to get clients to spend $10,000 a piece. All right, Gabe has proved it. I proved it. AD has proved it. We can make more money than an industry producer that's selling their beats for $10,000 and make it in less time.
Yeah. In fact, I believe
we're working with budgets.
I believe you had a couple $10,000 days during this launch, right?
We all have. That's what I'm saying. It's like that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So getting into the launch a little bit. So do you mind sharing your revenue number of what you hit with that launch?
Yeah, it was. I think I made 114,000 and something in 2 weeks. I actually made more than that because I added stuff on the back end. But I mean, in that month, I probably made over 130,000, 140,000. I posted in the group, And it
Incredible.
was just I thought outside the box. What could I do to fulfill an artist's need and do something that's a little bit different? And I did it, and I was not expecting it. I even told Gabe before we got on this, I'm like, dude, it was so good that it made me think that I was doing something wrong. It's almost like, oh my God, but this is too big for me right now. You know what I mean? Because in the industry, you know, you're not making 100 and something thousand in 2 weeks unless you're signing like a record deal or something or a publishing deal. But yeah, it was amazing. So yeah, it was about I'd say in the 2 week, it was about 114,000. Yeah.
Man, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
That's incredible. And you know, we were talking
Well, I
about
learned
the
from
whole
you.
thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I was, you know, cheering on. I was as excited for your launch as I've been for any launch that I've ever done, maybe more, because it's just so
no,
cool.
he was every day. He was coaching me, like, dude, like, I was like, go ahead, man, keep going,
Bro. Yeah, because I was so excited, and to me, it just shows like, you know, it's one thing to because here's the thing, for producers to be successful, for anybody to be successful, having the belief that they can be successful is so important. And it sounds corny, it sounds like bullshit. Like before I got into like all this stuff, like I would hear that stuff and I'd be like, nah, I just tell me the tactics, just tell me how to do the thing. That, you know, all that mindset stuff is garbage. But it's so important. Once you realize what's possible and you believe it's true for you, then you'll actually stick with it long enough to learn all the tactics and strategies and do the testing and do the stuff. And so for me, it's like, it's one thing if, like, you know, it's great, you know, me and AD have done something, and I almost feel like, you know, this is a whole nother conversation maybe, but like, I feel like the positioning is almost like people are like, oh yeah, okay, well, Gabe and AD did it, but it's like they're like different somehow or something. You know what I mean? Where it's almost like, for whatever reason, right? And maybe that's poor messaging on my side. I don't know, whatever it is. But you know, to now see like, oh no, wait a second, like other people can do, you know, Wish can do a 6-figure launch, you know, my best friend Jacob, you know, he hit 6 figures with his funnel. Like we've got, you know, a bunch of guys hitting the, you know, the 5-figure mark. And I think to me, what's so exciting is, for one thing, you know, the success that you have, but also that it shows everybody, it shows other producers like, oh my God, like this is actually possible. And it makes it feel like, you know, the ceiling on what we thought is possible is actually higher, and that the reality that real people, you know, we're just normal dudes. We just tried to do the shit and now we're doing it. Like there's nothing more to it, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way until you see it a couple times. And so I just think it's super inspiring to see.
and I've said this since day one. I said, you guys did not have to give up these secrets. You could have kept this going for so many years and not let anybody know what you're doing. I didn't know what was going on. You know, I heard maybe a little bit about some funnel stuff, but it was never at this level, like, or what you guys are teaching. And you didn't have to do that. Like, yeah, of course, it's a course you sell, but it's like, for what the amount of value you get for what you're charging, I was like, dude, I was instantly so, look how much that price how much more have I made than what I initially paid? It's not something you ongoing pay for. It's like, I paid one thing, I got this course that goes on forever. You learn forever, you just don't pay forever. And I just did $100,000 launch, and it's the same thing. I told you, I'm an educator. I've taught kids how to make beats that have never made a beat before, and they're in LA now getting placements from something I taught them. So it's so gratifying to see something that you actually came up with, that you put together, to see people succeed from. You're like, damn, I did not know. I knew they would learn this. I did not know they were going to get to that point. It's like, that's more gratifying than anything. And this is not just about money for a lot of us. It's not. That's great. I made that much money. It's more about accomplishing something that I've never done before.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to notice, like, when you start doing things at this level, that you're going to have people like crying to you and saying, thank you so much. I would have never had this opportunity or been able to afford something like this from someone like you in my life. And thank you for doing this for me. Like, I really appreciate you. You're a down-to-earth, really good person. You know what I mean? Like, that means more than just selling a beat and they get it off your site and you never hear from them again. You know what I mean? Like, it's so gratifying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it's another level of fulfillment. So let's talk about some of the tactics with it. So I know you did, so you connected with an artist, right? With Stevie Stone. And then what was it you did? You did sort of like a contest, right? And then that led into the launch. Is that right?
So yeah, so I was basically going off like what you and AD do. You guys got to do contests, and I've done a contest before, never at your guys' level. And I'm like, well, how could I build this up first before? Because you guys always talk about anticipation, like anticipating that's what's coming next, right? It's not just dropping it that day. You want to build something up. So I'm like, let me do a contest with him, because who's not going to want to do a contest with a signed artist? And not that Stevie, he's not a huge artist, guys. Just for that's the thing. I got an artist that signed a Tech 9, and I built this up through this funnel, kind of showing some of his attributes and like stuff he's done in the industry. It's not a Drake or a Nelly, you know what I'm saying? But he was a nice dude that was like, I want to be able to help people too. So I approached him like that. I said, hey, I do something where I give people a huge amount of value. It's a lease thing. It's not, you're not selling like a, you know, you're not doing a verse or a hook for $2,000 and then it's like, see you later. It's like, hey, we're going to help out every artist. And he's like, dude, I want to be part of this.
Nice.
So the first thing was like, let's do a contest. So we did a contest and we did not do any offer on it. It was just like, hey, you know what? Let's work on a package we could do for artists, but during that time, let's do a contest and they're going to win a microphone and, you know, this pack we're working on from you and me. And so we did that, and that lasted pretty much, I think, a month. I think we kind of built that up. It was probably too long, but we did it for the whole month. But then we made the package deal only 2 weeks, but we built such an anticipation for that pack that it just blew up. You know, like we did an early access thing where anybody on the early access list would get a special bonus. And then, yeah, I mean, the first early access day was like $6,000. So one of my mistakes, I think I should have spent more money on getting leads for the contest because I didn't know it was going to turn into this.
Right.
And then after that, it just, you know, like I said, it was $10,000 day. I had a $13,000 day, and it was just amazing. It just blew up from there, and it was just like, and just telling them the story. Like me and Stevie went on camera talking about why are we doing this. You know, this is part of the package, but we are doing this to help people. It's like, he usually charges this much. I usually charge this much, and people really appreciate it. And yeah, I did not expect it to turn to 114,000 in 2 weeks, man.
So awesome. So awesome. I love it. And it's cool too, how you did what you talk about, which is, for one thing, think about, okay, well, what's the value? Like, what is something that an artist could really use that will help them a lot? Well, getting a feature from an artist signed to Tech 9 like that is something that's really valuable. And then you put it together, with in a way with a twist that I'd never seen before. It was really, about positioning it as like, hey, here's like a pack that's a combination of, your production and features from him, non-exclusive features from him, which I just thought was really smart. I'd never, there's like versions of all that, but that's kind of what it's all about. Is this game? Is it's like, it's not so much about like you just wake up in the middle of the night and you've come up with something completely brand new out of nowhere. It's just taking pieces of things that exist and just putting together in new ways. And that's really, for me, the way to innovate as far as, as an entrepreneur, as a marketer. So I thought it was really awesome how you did that.
Thank you, man. And I thought of it that way. I was like, well, some people can afford this, so let's make the package like an MP3 package, and then it can go all the way up to the VIP package. You know what I mean? So you're making it available to anybody. You know what I mean? You're like, anybody. I want to make this available for people that can't afford to spend over $100 or over $50, but I also want to make it available to people that want a little bit more, that could spend $300 to $400. So just like we talk about McDonald's, you can go to McDonald's and get a 99-cent cheeseburger, or you can buy the Big Mac with the super size and pay, $8. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Yeah. So can we get into some of the mechanics? Because I geek out on this stuff. So funnel, page 1, if I recall correctly, you were offering free beat for email. Is that right?
Yeah. So I did a free beat for just signing up to just even get the offer. So it's like, all right, no matter what, I just want to show you this offer, but let me give you something in return. All right.
Yeah.
But that was after the contest. They already got the, they were on an early access list for it. So there was no beat really involved in that except for the contest they did. But yeah, as soon as the offer hit.
Sorry. Well, let's start there actually. My bad. Okay. Let's go in order. So the contest, and what the contest was to win a verse/hook.
It was win a exclusive verse and hook. It was win a microphone package. The actual offer we were doing. So just a bunch of things like that, and then they would be automatically on the early access list, so they would be able to get that the day before anybody else with a free bonus that nobody else is going to get. All right?
And for the contest, how did that work? How did you pick a winner, or how did that?
Oh my God! So it was insane. Stevie came out here, flew here. We went on Instagram Live. The whole weekend we went through every entry. It was like. I did not know. I was like, dude, there's like over 300 entries. We went through every single one. We wanted, like I said, we went to Instagram Live, and we went through random ones just to kind of give people some input, and we ended up picking the ones we liked. That's it. It wasn't based off of anything else except for what we thought was the best ones. And so yeah, it was top 3, first, second, and third winners. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then from there, so they enter the contest, and then did you do the announcement of the pack? I actually don't remember. At the same time as you announced the winners, or did you space those out? I actually, how did you kind of choreograph that as far as the timing of
Yeah,
things?
so that's exactly what we did. So
Okay.
then when we announced the winners, it's like, all right, but now the pack is officially released. So it's like, all right, here's the winners. And then, and I was a little worried because I'm like, man, what about all those people that are not going to buy the pack because they think they're going to win, right? They're like, oh, well, I'm the best artist alive. I'm going to win this. I don't need to buy that pack. So that was my only thing I thought about the whole time. Like, man, these people are going to be pissed. They didn't. They're like, cool, I appreciate it. It was an amazing contest. Thank you for putting us in such a wide audience. And then all the people that didn't win, they went and bought the package. And then, like I said, now it went to the whole world. And that's when I turned it into a anybody who just checks out this amazing offer, which it was, is going to get a free beat. Either way. So you're going to get a free beat just for trying it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I guess if you want to compare it, like when you go to Vegas, anywhere, and they're like, hey, we're going to give you a free hotel just for checking out this timeshare offer, right?
Right.
So it's kind of that approach. Like, yeah, you're going to get the free hotel, but, I mean, we're not going to push it in the same way. I'm not going to be over your head like, you better buy this. You know what I mean? How much money do you make a month now?
Sure.
But it was, check this out. And then people just instantly were like, this is amazing. And it was like you're getting a feature from a artist, hooks and verses. It wasn't just one hook and verse. It was a whole pack of them. And then unreleased beats from me. It was all unreleased stuff for $50.
Yeah.
And then it was an MP3 lease with limited right or premium rights, and then you can upgrade from there. So you can add unlimited rights, you can add track stems, and then that was the first page.
Nice. So those were two. You did two order form bumps, right? Unlimited
Yes, I
rights
did.
and
Yep.
the track outs. And then what was the price on those? If you
It was
do you remember?
$49.97 for the initial offer, and that's for the MP3 lease, and then for the Wave and Unlimited. So I put Wave and Unlimited together,
Okay.
and that was $60, and then it was $50 for the track stems.
Got it.
And
Got
most
it.
people bought that package. It was more. It was the $160 kind of deal. That was their main thing. Yeah.
So they got both. They got both the unlimited and the track outs.
Yeah, that was my that's most people went for that. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. And then what was the rest? Then there was
And then there was a
OTO?
one-time offer where we added more hooks and unreleased beats, and that was $24.99 if I'm not mistaken. And then for the track stem, so I did two order bumps on that page too.
Mhm.
So it was $25 for the track stems, and then $35 for the unlimited.
Okay, got it. And so were they actually bumps? Did you do? We're kind of geeking out here, but did you do like the CF Pro Tools, like the actual
Yes.
order form bump? Oh, you did.
I did,
Okay.
yeah, So it was $25 if you just wanted to add the MP3s, just like the first page.
Yeah.
But then if you want the waves on unlimited, you paid $35 for that, and then you paid $25 for the track stems, and those were just, there was the producer funnels kind of, the add-on button.
Yep. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I might cuz I'm building, as you know, I'm building a whole
Yeah, an insane
contest, a
one,
whole pack right now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, in the past what I've done usually on OTOs is I'll just have like two options. It's just two buttons, but there's not actually a bump. But yeah, I'm thinking I might do that. And do you remember, was it a pretty decent take rate as far as the percentage of people who
Oh, yeah,
bought that
huge.
thing that also got those bumps?
Yeah, I think at the end it was around 50%, maybe a little more.
Wow.
So this is the thing. Something threw off my stats. I started doing interest-based marketing, and on accident I only put people that like strange music instead of rapper and like strange music. So I was getting a ton of opt-ins, but then people are like, I don't want a beat package. I'm a fan. So
Yeah.
I was spending a ton of money on that. So that actually threw my numbers up, but still was at like 50%. People actually bought the one-time offer.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I realize too, we're geeking out pretty hard here, but can you explain what an order form bump is? Because I don't know that everybody knows.
Yeah. So a bump is basically like if you have a offer, you're adding more incentives for them to want to grab more things in that package. So let's say I'm doing an MP3 lease, and they're like, well, I want the MP3 with premium rights, but I want also to have the wave and unlimited rights to that. So now you do something called an order bump where they can add, for a cheap price, which would usually cost, let's say, $3,000, it would be like $25 or $30, and they could add that to it. And then also, like, if they're like, well, I like to mix this professionally, I want to add the track stems as well, then they're going to do that second order bump, which typically, the two order bumps thing I think is more new, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
brand. That's,
so.
within less than a year that's even a thing. Yeah, I think, the analogy that I like to use is sort of like, it's like when you're you're at the grocery store, you already got the stuff you're gonna buy, and then you're like standing in line, and there's like the candy and the magazines and whatever. They're kind of like almost like the impulse buys, like, oh, while you're here, you know, do you want to grab this thing too? And so basically, the way it's positioned on the order form is like they actually enter their name, you know, their email, their credit card number, whatever. They put in their payment info, and then the best place to put that order form bump is right before they click submit. So they're already basically in the buying process, right? And then it's just like, do you want to check this box for this incredible deal to get the trackouts or the unlimited rights? And like literally their mouse has to like go over that to get to the like submit button. And it's like, oh yeah, of course I want that. Bam, let me check that box, right? And you're giving them a ton
and I
of
like
value.
to put the order, yeah, and I like to put the order summary there too, so they could see like, okay, I just added that. Okay, so I know what I'm paying right now.
Yes.
And then I don't know if you want me to talk about the one-time offer page too, what that
please.
means. Yeah. And then after they check out, they already paid for that, so the payment information went through. Then they're gonna be taken to another page, which is a one-time offer, and that's basically where you're giving them something that it's only available for like 10, 15 minutes or whatever you want to make it, but they can't grab that later. And it's like a one-time offer, and then you could add another, you know, piece of value. You can either go super high, you can go lower, so it's either called a downsell or upsell, and that way you can give them more value. Like, well, guess what? Now for today, to add this on, instead of $3,000 that would regularly cost you, it's going to cost you like $25. And then, you know, I do some extra code like Gabe does and stuff where you can add order bumps on there as well. So it's pretty awesome.
That's the advanced nerd stuff. But yeah, and it's great and it's beneficial, and it's like, it's another way where you can provide even more value because you're giving them more opportunities to get stuff at, you know, an incredible deal, and it's going to help them. And it's going to help you make more money. You're giving more value, get more value back. That's how the market works. And I think sometimes people see just what's on the surface, right? And maybe they're just seeing, oh, Wish is giving away a free beat or something, right? And it's like, well, you're kind of missing the point, you know, not that's like the tip of the iceberg. You know what I mean? You need to understand that this is all part of this well thought out plan, you know, funnel, whatever you want to call it. Like, this is a journey you're taking the customer on where you're giving and getting a lot of value. And so you have to know all the pieces of that to really understand why it works. And so sometimes I think people just see the surface and they think they get it, or they are like, well, this is stupid, but it's because they don't understand all those pieces that are on the back end.
And it's also a two-way street. You're winning and they're winning. At the end of the day, they can go make millions of dollars off this music, and you can sell it to more than one person. It's a win-win situation. That's why I love what we do, because everybody goes home happy. Yeah. You didn't just leave like the store and like, I just got a Rolex for $200, and then you're like, oh, it's fake. Like, oh shit. No, they're leaving with quality beats that they get to use on their projects. They can release on all platforms, and you leave saying, well, I could sell this to more, you know, you and then these other artists, so we all win at the end of the day. You know?
Yeah. No, for sure. Man. So what was as far as adding some urgency to that, right? Because you had a deadline. What did that do for your sales, or how do you think that affected?
Yeah, so deadlines with anything, and this is something I go over so many times in the coaching call, is you know, artists don't have, like, you have to give them urgency, because I've worked with artists my whole life, and not even selling just beats online. If you're not saying, hey, I can only work with you today, or, you know, or we're not going to be able to finish this album, or saying, hey, I'm only going to give you this offer till the end of the week, chances are they're going to forget about it, and they're going to say, or they'll be like, if you let's say you give them an offer and say it's available forever, oh, I'll get that next month. Yeah, I got to pay that. I got to go buy some Jordans. I got to go do this. I got to go, you know what I'm saying, I got to go take care of my, you know, whatever. If you know, give them that urgency, saying that it's only available for a short period of time, that's when people actually buy. And that's the first mistake I made with my funnel. And they even told me, and I still did, that I did my first evergreen to my audience, and I gave them till the end of the month, right? And at first, like, people were like, oh, damn, I can get, you know, 20 beats from Wish for, you know, I'm used to buying his beats for $50, and I'm getting them for $30 right now for a whole, you know, 25 beats. And it wasn't until the last week of that month when I started, like, saying, you only have a week left. And it was the last day I think I made it was like $1,000 in one day. And I'm like, oh, all right, this makes sense. Yeah. Because you're telling them that this is really going to be done. It's like, it's gone. You know what I mean? you're
Yeah.
not lying to them. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, no, the
Yeah.
urgency piece is you know, urgency and scarcity whenever you can use those. And it's just, and you know, and for artists for sure, but it's really just human nature. You know what I mean? That we do just put stuff off if there's not a deadline on it. Whether if we know it's something that's good for us or whatever, it's so easy to keep putting things off because it is just human nature until it's like, oh well, I don't want to miss out because this is the last day. And then it's crazy. Like I still, like, I shouldn't be surprised at this point because I've been doing this for years, but I'm always surprised when I do a launch where there is a deadline. The amount of people that buy on the very last day is always so much more than any other day. You know, I've had, you know, a couple big ones, you know, a couple big launches. We had like our biggest one a couple years ago, and I remember it kept like building up. You know, we did a week, but it kept building up, and we're getting, you know, I remember like third to last day, we did like 30 something thousand. And I remember that was more than the total I had made the entire year selling beats online, like 2 years before that I made, you know, in that day. I hit that like 30,000. I was like, oh, that's crazy. I guess at this point, like, all right, I've had like my biggest day on my last day. It's not, you know, it must have peaked here. Like, you know, I knew another affiliate that kind of jumped in, and all right, cool.
Hey,
You know, and then it was like,
doesn't matter. It's still amazing, man.
bro, and then like second to last day, it was in the 30s, but it was like 35 or something. And then I was like, all right, I'm sure like last day it's gonna trail off. Bro, we did 55K on the last day of that launch, and you know, and it's every time I'm always shocked, but it's like it's just that human nature that all these people, they've been hearing about it, and they're like, yeah, I'll probably get it, maybe, I don't know, but then they see that email or they see that ad or whatever that's like, hey, this is the last day, this is an incredible opportunity, this, you know, if you don't want to miss out on this, then right now is your chance. And so many more people buy. And so having that urgency in there, it just makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah,
So.
for sure. And then, you know, and then you're gonna get people that are just like, they don't read their emails, and or they're like, dude, I just saw this. Can you open this up just please for one more day? And like, that's, you know, that's something I did. I did another 24 hours the next day, just so you can get like people that are just maybe didn't get the email and they really wanted it, because people, I mean, they're going to have legitimate stories like, dude, I really want this. Thank you so much. Can you please open it up? And I think I got that from you. You're like, dude, just open it up 24 more hours. I'm like, okay, I guess I could do that. Why? It does. I'm thinking to myself, I can't do that because but I'm like, why not? And I just tell everybody, hey, it's open up for another 24 hours.
Yeah.
Get those last minute people that are just, they didn't read their emails or they really wanted it and they just need that extra day, you know?
Yeah. No, and it makes a difference. And it's a little bit of the best of both worlds, right? You're giving them that urgency of like, hey, you don't want to miss out on this. And then it's like, you know, one last opportunity, which I think can be super powerful. You just have to watch the balance of it. If you say, hey, this is the last day, and then all of a sudden now it's available forever, well, you know, now they're not going to trust you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's just that balance. But yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I still get emails from people that want it, and I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, it's over. I said I might offer it in the future, but I just not right now. You know what I mean? I have to stick to my word. At the end of the day, I'm just like, I'm sorry, man. Yeah.
Yeah, at a certain point, I do think it's important because otherwise people don't believe you. You know what I mean? Otherwise,
they're just like, oh, I could just buy this later. He'll give it to me in the next month if I want it. You know?
Right, exactly. Man, congrats, bro. It's huge. I love it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, so I know we're coming up against the time, but I do want to just go over a couple things, which is just like, so like you've been coaching so many people. I'm wondering if you have a couple things maybe that you've seen either like, oh, these are consistently things that have worked, and or here's a couple things that I'm consistently seeing like mistakes being made.
Yeah, so I say consistently, people are not making their own funnel. They're just kind of taking what everybody else is doing and turn it into their own. It's like, that's not you. So you need to turn it into your story. Like, don't, like, I've heard people say my same exact story, and I'm like, dude, you're not Grammy nominated. You didn't work with these people. Like, that doesn't, you're going to scam people. That's a scam. Like, what we do is not a scam. You're turning it into a scam by lying to them.
Right.
And I think even with their videos, like, just don't go into crazy detail. Like, just tell them about yourself. Like, be honest. Like, give them an intro. You know, relate to them. Tell them about everybody struggled. I don't care who you are. Everybody struggled in music. There's not one person that says, I woke up today and just got a placement and my whole career is made. Like, that doesn't happen. We all have had to struggle. Tell them what you struggle with. You know what I mean? And then just briefly tell them about your offer. And maybe if there's one bonus in there that you think is the best, talk about that. But people go into so much detail that I feel like it's like you're going to lose people, because people's attention spans are just like, no, I don't want to hear all this. Yeah. So just be yourself and, like, you know, be energetic. Don't overthink it. And that's what I did. I mean, I said about 50 million times in my video, and I ended up editing it because I saw DJ Payne. You know, I was watching his interviews, and he like cuts a ton of his videos, and I'm like, all right, if he can do it, I could take out all my ums, because I was like, I'm just gonna be myself, you know.
Yeah.
And then and just you can edit your videos and stuff, and then like I said, make it your own. Tell your story, and this is the thing: people are not buying your beats per se; they're buying into working with you. And
Right.
I know that seems like no, that they're buying my beats. No, they don't, because they're not hearing all the beats in the package. You're just saying, hey, this is what I have to offer. This is me. We are working together now. You know, I always relate to you and them. We are working together now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, man. And just,
Bro. No, definitely. I mean, that's like a few gems right there. So like, for one thing is making it your own. And of course, one of the things that we do is we provide a template. But what I noticed on the first version of the template is that so many people kept like literally the exact same headline word for word, and like the exact. So on the second template, I was like, you know what, this is the updated template, you know, with a bunch of cool stuff of things that are converting better and all this, all these optimized in all these new ways. But also I changed the format so that in the template, I actually forced them where it's like says in parentheses, like your thing here or your thing here, because even though
and
we were
and they still keep it saying that.
Yeah, so that's the thing is
my
like
producer name.
yeah, right, and then it just says that. So like, yeah, I think that's so important is start within a framework that works. Like that's a great jumping off point. But if you're telling Wish's story, obviously that's not going to come across as genuine, and you're just lying anyways. And so it's that balance, right? It's like, how do you take these concepts, the principles, the strategies? That's another thing that we try to really stress too in Midi Money is like, yes, here's the exact tactics that work. This page and this and this and this. But here's the principle behind it. Here's the psychology behind it. Here's why urgency is important. Not just put a timer right here on your page. Like, yes, that's a tactic that might work. But more importantly is, well, what's the psychology behind it? Well, people fear missing out. It's human nature to need that final push, right? And so if you understand that piece of it, now it's like, okay, how can I apply that? So I think that's a big gem right there.
Exactly. Like everybody was doing the software box. I'm like, that works. But I was like, why don't I did a milk carton. My evergreen is a milk carton because it's called the Artist Growth Package. It's like psychologically, what makes you grow? Milk, right? Milk makes a body grow. So I'm like, I'm going to use a milk carton as my software package. And it went over very well. You know what I mean? Like, think of things that are outside the box. And like I said, it doesn't even have to just be beats. It can be anything you want. You could use, there's so many people in the group that are offering things. You could make an entire funnel off of everybody's stuff and not even have to do anything, and you could make a profit. You know what I mean? Now, you don't, I'm not saying do that, but I'm just saying you can. I might do it just for a test.
Yeah, that would be funny. And for people who don't know, so part of what we have in the Midi Money community is we have something called the Midi Money Offer Library, and it's basically a shared collection of products and services, beat packs, courses, trainings, things that producers can submit in there to be included in other people's offers and vice versa. And that way we can give value. We can, create a true offer without having to necessarily like build a course myself on YouTube or something, because I don't know about that. But guess what? Busy Works Beats, who's in our group, he does know YouTube, right? He's got 800,000 subscribers or whatever, and he included his course in that. So now you can include that, in your offer, and you can include beats from Wish, and you include beats from me and AD. And so that's something that, if you're in the group, of course, take advantage of it. But even if you're not, think about who can you connect with. It's similar to like your Guitar Center example, but it's also can be, reach out to other producers and be like, hey, do you want to trade 5 beats? Like, you give me 5 beats, I give you 5 beats. I can include that as part of my offer. You include it as part of yours, and now it's win-win. Or you're doing affiliate stuff, or, how can you work together with people to make that offer better and to actually, bring more value, to everyone? Because I know, even on your launch, right? Wasn't affiliates was a pretty
yeah, that's a substantial
right?
amount of people that get brought in sales. Exactly. It's like, and my first like initial thought when I came into this is like affiliate marketing. Like, I'm gonna bring my audience to you. You're gonna steal all my. And at first, I'm thinking Gabe and AD are like marketing geniuses. If I send my customers to them, they're gonna take all these people because they have like these freaking amazing emails. It doesn't work that way. They actually appreciate you for giving an offer that's so amazing to help them in their careers that they want to work with you for life. And that was another mindset thing I had to have. Like, I'm not losing anything by bringing them into some other offers. So And
Yeah.
that was a huge leap for me too. I was just like, oh my gosh, you know.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
one that I think so many producers are still stuck on is like they're so afraid, they're so protective, of whatever it is of their list, of their brand, of whatever, and like of course it's what's important is that you're not sending anybody to something that you don't believe in, to something that's not going to give them value. Like of course, absolutely, that is absolutely important because then they won't trust you. But past that, don't be afraid to like send, if to be an affiliate for Wish and send your audience, be like, hey, here's this incredible opportunity my buddy Wish has. Now they get that incredible opportunity they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. You get a percentage of the sale. Wish gets sales that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise. It's win-win-win for everybody, and it's something that sometimes it's really hard to get past that first piece because we feel like a lot of times as producers, I think we're so used to just being in our own little world, and it's like we're our own little bubble. You know what I mean?
I think it's in music in general too, because like I've been screwed over hundreds of thousands of dollars in my career just from people that like managers and lawyers and stuff like that. So you're always like, you have to be skeptical about what you get into. But when it comes to this, it's not the same. It's like, all right, I'm getting a percentage off your sales. Like what do I have to lose here? If you're converting at a high percentage, why would I not want to throw people there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's just a mindset you have to get into.
Yeah. Was there anything else that launch did to change your mindset or the way that you think about your beat selling business?
Yeah, I think I think I have to take a lot of it into my evergreen. I think there's just having a bonus for a certain amount of people. I think really will go over well. Just like that one thing that for the first 10 people can get if they grab this package.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, so that's another gem because you can create urgency in different ways, right? So one way to create urgency is say, hey, this is the last date you can get something. We can also create urgency over here by saying, hey, the first 10 people, or if you buy on the first day, you get this bonus. Now you're creating urgency over here as well. So you can build it in all different ways.
Yeah, and I think even some of my emails, just make them shorter, and like how I talk to my my homie from down the street or my boy from my whole life, and be like, "What's up, homie? Like, send me some stuff." You know what I mean? Like, that went over so well that I was just like, "Oh man, I'm going into like my story like deep." I'm like, "Man, I got beat up when I was." No, I'm just kidding. But you just go in the deep stories. Like sometimes it's just you can add an email that has like a few sentences and just actually ask them a question like, "Hey, send me something," or "Tell me about yourself."
Yeah. No, it's huge, and it's something, and I'm definitely guilty of that. Is I do tend to write emails that are too long, and I want to tell a whole story and give value in different ways and whatever. And sometimes I think it's good, and a lot of times it's not. And it is those short emails that do feel like they came from somebody. And something that I was reminded of. I was reading Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards, great book, and he was talking about how people think that the email needs to sell the thing, and it's like not really. Like the email really just needs to, let's say in this specific case, let's say you want people to go check out this pack, right? This beat pack. Like the email doesn't have to sell them on the beat pack. The email has to sell them on, give them enough curiosity, make them want to click the link to go over to the page enough. That's really the purpose, and pre-frame them enough to be, open to what's there. But then the page itself is really where you're selling the thing. So you don't need necessarily a whole email with a million different bullet points about how awesome it is. There's a place for that, but you can have an email that says, dude, you got to check this out. This is crazy. Click here. You know what I mean? And you'll probably get more clicks from that than from the email that points out all the incredible things about the offer in the first place.
Exactly. And I think another takeaway is like you need to average your wins and losses. Like I spent so much time on my daily sales. I was like, oh, I made 600 today. And then like next day I'd be like 50. And I'm like, damn, like what's wrong? And it's like, and then you look throughout the week and you're like, well, I just made $3,000 this week. Like, what am I worried about, those daily things? So you just need to average those things out. Like yesterday I made $700 and today I'm at like $100. You know what I mean? Like so far, like that's, old me would have been like, dude, like something's wrong, right? I'm like, it happens in business. And the biggest takeaway I think is like our evergreen is great, but it's really about building a huge fan base to sell them on other things. All right. Yes. Of course you want to make that upfront sell, but you really just want to come out even, because you can do so much more. Like I said, I built $25 customers into $5,000 exclusive customers because of me building, my relationship with them. Yeah. And like I said, I just did that launch, and that really showed me that if you can do like 2 launches a year, you're done. That's your salary. Like, what do you need? What are you worried about the daily stuff anymore? You know what I mean?
Exactly right, bro. I'm so glad you said that because I feel like, and I wonder if maybe I've contributed to this problem a little bit because what I talk about so much is the first funnel that you do need to build is that evergreen funnel, that front end funnel that builds your list and builds those relationships. But I think sometimes producers start and they're excited and then they have so much writing on, like you said, every day. Well, did I make money today? Did I lose $10? Did I make 20? Did I make 100? And it's like, no, like don't worry about it. Like I understand how it feels, but like really what you're doing here is you're building your list, you're getting better at this skill, and you're building those relationships because really that's all money in the bank. Even though it's not literally money in the bank necessarily yet, it's you're building a certain type of capital, which is those relationships, the trust, all those people on your list. And now, like you said, you've got these launches, or hell, Wish has got to launch. I'm just going to write a couple of emails, and guess what?
I was just about to say that.
I just made whatever with $7,000 or whatever. Like, great, because I've cultivated that list and that relationship over these years, and they know that I'm not going to send them to something that doesn't have value. So I'm really glad you said that because I think that is a really, really important piece.
And that's what's great about being part of this community is we open up our stuff to you guys. It's like, you know what I mean? It's not easy. Like, don't think we're doing it because we want your customers, because it's not easy for me to pay you $20 off an affiliate sale when I could pay someone $8,000, right? I'm trying to help you. Like Gabe's trying to help you. We don't care if you make 20, if you make $30, if you made $100. We want to open these things up to you guys. So if you don't have a launch of your own, or if you want to make more money on the back end, take your customers through this sequence. Let your leads that you paid for keep making you money with, with affiliate sales. I'm not worried if someone didn't buy my package. I'm like, all right, well, they might buy my Get Response affiliate marketing line, or my our Rick Barker freaking, affiliate link. You're going to learn a lot in this group. It's I can't go into everything, but there's so much value that you can give besides just that initial evergreen.
Yeah, man. Whew, bro, we could do this forever. We could go on forever,
Yeah,
but
I love it, man. This is I told you, it's my new passion.
yeah, man, and I
love
that
this stuff.
I love that too. And that's, for me, that's a big part, is like teaching the tactics is cool, but if we can get people excited about the entrepreneurial side, excited about building funnels, to me that's what it's all about. And so it's great to see you having fun doing it and spreading that fun too. All right, man. Well, gosh, I guess I think we gotta wrap it up soon, as much as I'd love to keep on going. I guess to close it out, maybe, first off, where can people find you? If you do have anything else you want to kind of add on to the conversation. And, yeah. Oh, my bad. Let me do one. I know this is like a long one. This is an extra long one, but I can't help it. So let me get a quick plug in here. So if you go to Apple Podcasts, go to Midi Money, drop us a review. We very, very much appreciate it. And if you want, ask us a question, include your Instagram handle, and we will answer your question and give you a shout out. So I got one here. So let's get one in right here. This person goes by Il Italiano. He says, Midi Money fam, excited to be here. Can't wait to hear more of your podcast. I'll be listening to them all. I listen to this first thing in the morning because it gets my mind in the right place. I have a question. Generating leads without ads seems like a really slow process. What could I implement to speed that up so I can test my funnel with more artists? My Instagram is @Il Italiano. See you in the group. Got any? So
Yeah,
basically, how can you generate traffic without ads?
No matter what, your organic is going to always be better than your paid, because when you go for paid traffic and you're going for bulk, and it's like, hopefully I get 1 to 3% of people that do this, right? But if you're building organically, yeah, of course it's going to be slower, but you can build a relationship just by talking. And like social media alone brings me a lot of sales, because I this is a technique I put in the group, but I use Twitter, and I actually go follow, and you teach this too, is follow other followers that actually follow other producers or people that are doing the same thing you are, and then actually message them and say, let me check out your music. Same thing we're doing in email. And by doing that, you're going to have a bigger percentage than you would by doing the paid marketing. So let's say I spend $100 in paid marketing and I might get 1 or 2 sales. You might get 1 or 2 sales off the hour you just spent, not even an hour, maybe a half an hour you just spent in social media and following people and listening to their music and talking back and forth with them. So either it's a slower process, but it's a better outcome, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you get a higher percentage. Even if you get, a quarter of the clicks, you might get 4 times the conversion. So it works out. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And then as far as stuff to speed it up, I mean, there are, there's certain things that you can do. Of course, we talk about the cold email hack. You can, see, I talk about that in our free training. And then we have a more in-depth version of that in Beat Traffic Hacks. There is some automation stuff. I've mostly been staying away from that these days.
Me too.
Most platforms have really cracked down. You can't, to my knowledge, you can't really do it on Instagram anymore. I don't do it there. I don't know what Twitter's like these days. So those are kind of shortcuts, but I've stayed away from them recently because it feels like they've
you just do the automation yourself. That's it. You're just doing what
Right.
they would do for you. But like it's just work. I think this is what people don't want to hear. It's work.
Yeah.
You have to work hard for this. But do you want to go to a job where you work 8 hours doing the same thing for a minimum amount of pay, or do you want to work 8 hours on your craft? That's something. Work hard now, work less later in life. That's my whole motto.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. And I used to spend so much time answering and sending DMs all day, and now, of course, I'm in a different position where I have more paid traffic. I have a team who can, do some of that and stuff like that. But that is part of it. It's going to be part of the game. It's just putting that time in. And then yeah, as far as just like some more tactical stuff, we've got check out our YouTube, youtube.com/Midi Money. I've got some tips on like Instagram and SoundCloud and stuff like that. But just I'll give the quick version of the Instagram one, which is basically figure out like, okay, who already has your audience, right? Like, is it other producers who are selling beats online? That's probably a good place to start. So let's say maybe Wish, right? Maybe I feel like I make beats similar to Wish or whatever. His audience is going to resonate with me. So then I'm going to go over to Wish's account. I'm going to see who's actually active on there because I don't just want to interact with his followers. I want to interact with his most engaged followers. So who's liking, who's commenting. Then for those people that are liking and commenting, I'm not going to DM them and say, hey, go buy this thing. I'm not even going to DM them and say, go get some free beats. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to their profile and I'm going to comment and give genuine comments. I'll say, hey, I really like this song and be specific about it, or, whatever it is, like actually, follow them, give them some value, right? And do that 100 times a day, right? And now all of a sudden you've got 100 people who they're going to get a notification on their phone. Oh, somebody liked and followed. Okay, let me, and let's say half of those people go and check out your profile and you got some beats up, you've got you, whatever. And maybe half of those 50 actually follow you. Now you've got 25 new followers. And now from those 25, shoot them a DM. And the way that I would recommend doing it, one of our mutual friends, Rick Barker, taught me this trick, which is instead of just like typing out like, hey, thank you for following, on Instagram, it's really easy. Just slide it over, send them a video DM. You could do a voice one too if you feel weird about being on video, but video works even better. And like get on video and be like, and see, like, look at what their handle is, what their name is. Just be like, hey, what's up, Wish? Really looking forward to connecting with you more. Let me know if you're working on any projects or anything like that. Thanks, man. Bam. Right? You send that off. Then now you started a conversation. Then from there, once you've gotten to the conversation, you send them the link. Here's some free beats. Bam. Do that. You're going to be getting leads every day. So, bam.
And don't follow people that have beats on the end of their name, or you're going to be very upset because that's
Yes.
a lot of people do. Like, well, because there's producers follow the producers, so don't follow the guys that have beats on the end.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Let's. I know we could go forever, but let's go ahead and wrap it up. If you want to let people know the best place to find you, and then anything else, if you have anything else that you want to wrap it up with.
Yeah, you can hit me up on any social media. Wyshmaster Beats. That's with a Y, not an I. Instagram is probably my number one. So if you want to hit me up there, that's verified, by the way. It's got the little blue check.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's like my joke. I always talk about that. Yeah, I think the last gem is, and this is going to be the toughest one for a lot of people, is don't give up. And I know that sounds so stupid and so cliche, but it's true because most people that fail in this business, they give up so quickly because they don't see results right away. If I would have gave up after that first year that I probably lost like 8 to 10 grand, I wouldn't have been in the position I am today. I would just, I still could survive, but would I be as happy as I am today doing what I used to love doing and, early on in my career? No. So I didn't give up after that first year. I kept going. I kept learning. I kept talking to people. I kept networking. And then at one point, you're just gonna take off and something's gonna work, and then you could just climb based off of that. So just don't give up, even though you might not win at first. So it might take you a year, it might take you 2 years, but then when you get to that point, you're gonna look back and be like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't give up. You know what I'm saying? So
Love it. Huge. Yeah. Stick with it. Stick with it long enough to get good at it. Stick with it long enough to get results.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Wish.
And give a shit. Give a shit.
And give a shit.
Yeah.
Give a shit. Wyshmaster Beats 2020.
Give a shit.
All right, man. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time. Gems on gems.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, man.
All right, see you, buddy.